Hey, this is Sridhar from wpdevdesign.com. In this video, I want to talk about CSS in Oxygen. As you probably know, you can go to Manage, Style Sheets, and here you can create custom folders and new custom style sheets and add some CSS. Anything that we add here is a global. That means it applies to all the pages of the site, and um, regardless of what folders and what style sheets that are created here, everything gets added inside a file called universal.css on the front end, and all the CSS will be minified. So what I have here is a custom folder called Sridhar by my name, and inside that I have created a CSS file called sitewide, but really the name does not really mean anything. It could just be global or XYZ. So regardless of the name, as I said, this CSS code is going to be applied throughout the site. So let's say I have added a new style rule to apply or set yellow background to the body element. I save it, and when I come to the front end and reload, this is going to be applicable to this page as well as all the other pages of the site. Now let's say I want to override this and make the background of only this page to be red. We can do that by going to structure, and in the code block I can add body background red. Okay, so one little bug that I see here is that when we apply this code, you can still see the yellow background that's coming from the global CSS, but the page specific CSS of red background is not being applied. But this is a problem only in the back end. Now when I save this and go and reload my page on the front end, we can see this working properly. So we are able to override the CSS at a global level, in the global CSS at a page or template level. Okay, now what will happen if we say go to style sheets and start creating multiple CSS files? Which will take precedence? And the simple answer is whichever is created the last takes precedence. So the order in which we add the CSS here is the order in which it gets placed in the generated file by Oxygen. When I say generated file, not this. Talking about this universal.css. So universal.css basically gets the code that you add here in the order in which it is added. So let's say I add a new style sheet called style sheet 1. Okay, so here I say background teal. Now in the front end, teal should not appear because we still have red up in the page level CSS. So that is working as expected, but let me just go back to structure, and in the code block I'll go to the CSS and remove that for the time being. Save it, go back to the front end and reload, and you can see the teal being applied. So let's go back to style sheets. As you can see, site-wide has the yellow background and style sheet 1 has the teal background, but teal background is appearing, I mean it's not, I should not say, but teal background is appearing in the front end as you expect, because the CSS that is generated or that is created by this file is being added and shown at the end. So let's say I create a new style sheet. I call style sheet let's say SS2, and inside this I create a rule right like that. Now this orange is going to appear on the front end. Okay, so let me take a look here. I have determined that universal.css is used as a shoebox. Thank you, but tell me what are folders for then? Of there is no such thing. Some kind of virtual reference and nothing more. Yes. So these folders that we can create in Oxygen, these folders, okay, it does not, we should not put spaces. Fine, that's fair enough. So these folders, these are only for your reference, for you to classify. For example, let's say you want to put all the WooCommerce specific CSS. You can create a folder called WooCommerce and put it in there. So this is just simply a way for you to classify the global CSS into folders which are not really there anywhere in the file system, but these are just virtual. O2 clearly O2 mangles CSS specificity and inheritance, as we no longer have control of which order our CSS will be loaded. That is not true. That is false. I know how build systems minify, and what we have been given here is not looking good at this point, as it violates all of the best practices, not to mention blowing up CSS inheritance, as there is bound to be all sorts of collisions when all the CSS is dumped into a minifier that does not provide us a way to do so. No, I do not agree with this. I have not determined where to store my own assets like images and font files. Typically for images we use the WordPress media library, and for the font files, as I shared before, we can use a custom functionality plugin and create a folder called assets. Inside that we can create a folder called fonts, put the fonts in there and load from them. O2 currently has a bug that mangles the use of custom fonts. Okay. Granted, load my WOF files may not be supported in the UI, as I have yet to determine if I load my own files, but a lot of my own code relies on font families already declared in the CSS source code of the files I'm migrating over. As I said, when we use a custom functionality plugin and then load the font families, the font family calls declarations that are there in your CSS will continue to work. I'm happy to use the uploads Oxygen folder, which I'm going to get around trying. I don't think it's a good idea to go inside WP content uploads and inside Oxygen and add our own CSS there, because when you update the plugin, you're going to lose all that CSS. The way to add custom CSS is in the WordPress customizer, or the way you do it here. And of course, you can also do it at a page level or a template level in Oxygen. I know I can use the interface for some of these tasks, which is exactly what I do not want to do when migrating a lot of code already written that I want to reuse in an Oxygen website. I'm still not sure what the problem is. So if you can give me one clear specific example of what it is that you are trying to do and what is currently not possible or what is not currently not working, then I'll be able to better answer that. Okay, bye for now.